Tell us your name, please, and spell your last name for the court reporter.
David Steuding, Steuding.
All right. Yep. And where do you live, sir?
1804 Rudolph Road, apartment number 1A in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Where were you living as of March 22nd of 2018?
511 Cameron Street in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
And were you living there with any other individuals?
2 roommates, Matthew Schreiner and Alex Woodworth.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about that residence. How many bedrooms were there?
3 bedrooms upstairs, right next to each other.
All right. And can you tell us a little bit about the construction? How were the walls? I mean, were there...
Super thin, like you could hear everything. Giggles or, you know, you could hear everything.
So if you're, can you give us the order as far as...
Matthew was on the west wall, I was on the east wall, and Alex was in the middle of us both.
All right. And were they kind of all, the bedrooms all in a row?
Yes.
All right. So your bedroom would be next to Alex's bedroom?
Yes, correct.
If there was conversation going on in Alex's bedroom and you were in your bedroom, what can you tell us about what your ability would be to hear that?
I would be able to hear most, you know, I mean, I don't think I could make everything word for word out, but I could hear comments and talking and maybe hear words, like some words.
Could you hear tone of voice if there was something that was loud or yelling?
Absolutely.
All right. And how long had Alex been living in that residence?
I would say roughly about 4 months, 4 to 6 months.
All right. And how long had you been living there with Mr. Schreiner?
Almost, I lived there for about a year.
Okay. And what type of relationship did you have with Alex? I mean, besides being roommates, were you friends, or were you just kind of like knew each other because you lived together?
Friends.
Okay. Is he someone you hung out with typically?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how about the defendant? Prior to December or March 22nd of 2018, do you recall having met the defendant prior to then?
No.
And do you recall, were you home the morning of March 22nd, 2018?
Yes, I was.
And do you recall if there was somebody, if somebody came and knocked at the door that day?
Yes.
All right. And do you recall about, did it happen once or more than once?
More than once.
All right. How many times?
At least twice.
All right. And did you see who the individual was both times?
Yes.
All right. And when was the first time approximately?
About 11 or 10 a.m.
Okay. And did you see who was knocking?
Yes.
And do you see that person in court here today?
Yes.
And where is that person seated, and what are they wearing?
A pink peach outfit. So I got
I'm
a
sorry.
peach blazer, it looks like. So.
Okay. As the record reflect the identification of the defendant?
All right, the record will reflect that the witness has identified Ms. McCandless. That's the only peach blazer on that direction.
All right. And did you answer the door at that point in time?
I believe I did.
All right. And did you have any conversation, or did she come in, stay at that time, or did she leave?
She came in, but not at that time.
Okay. She came in later?
Yes.
All right. You said there was a second time when someone was knocking at the door?
Correct.
Was it the same person?
Yes.
All right. And the second time, approximately how long after the first time was that?
At least about an hour and a half.
All right. And when you heard the knocking the second time, what did you do?
I went downstairs and I looked at the door. I think I was in my boxers at the time, and so I went and walked to the bathroom, and then I called up to Alex because I believe she asked me for Alex.
Okay. And can you describe the entryway to the residence, what it's like?
There's a porch that you come in. It's a three-season porch. There's no windows surrounding it. There's just a screen door, a storm door. You come in, this has a window there. You can't really see anything throughout that. There was a couch in there going on the side. The door goes straight through and to open the door for our house to get in our house.
Okay. And so that area is enclosed?
Yes,
All
correct.
right. And where did you see, when you looked out the window this second time, where did you see the defendant?
Sitting on the couch that we had outside, or on
And-
the porch.
All right. And then, did you see if she had anything with her that she was carrying?
Yes.
What did she have?
It looked like a heating pad, like a blue heating pad and a water bottle.
Okay. And did you notice anything about her that drew your attention?
Anxious.
And when you say anxious, what do you mean?
She seemed like she was really in a hurry to talk to Alex or something, or there was some pressing issue.
Okay. And so then you yelled up to Alex?
Yes.
All right. What did you do at that point?
I think I took a shower for the day. It was my birthday that day. I remember that. So I was just lounging around, trying to relax. I didn't work that day, so.
Okay. And by the way, sir, have you been convicted of a crime?
Yes.
And how many times?
24.
Now, once you had you went back to your room, did you go back to your room?
Yes.
All right. While you were in your room, do you know where the defendant went?
Yes, his room.
When you say his room, whose room are you talking about?
Alex.
All right. And could you hear anything of what was going on in that room?
Yes.
What were you hearing?
It just seemed like they were socializing.
All right. Did you hear any yelling?
Absolutely not.
Did you hear anything about what Alex was doing that caused you concern?
None at all.
What did you do then?
I believe after I got ready, took a shower, I think I left for the day. I went out the back door where my car was parked, and I didn't really say goodbye to Alex. I think he was still in the bedroom with Ezra.
All right. Do you know if the door to Alex's room was open or closed when you left?
I think it was closed.
And did you leave before or after the Eau Claire police arrived at the scene?
I left before.
So you never saw the Eau Claire Police Department there?
No, I did not.
The defendant at any point tell you that she would only stay there if you were there?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did the defendant ever tell you something like, I'll only stay if you're there?
I don't remember, no.
Nothing else from Mr. Steuding?
All right, cross-examination.
Thank you. You and Alex were roommates?
Yes,
Did he move into the place you were living, or did you move into the place he was living?
I moved in before him.
Okay, and then he moved in around January 1st?
Yes,
So you'd been living with him in January, February, and that 22 days in March?
correct.
And during that time, you'd never met Ezra McCandless, agreed?
Never.
You and Alex had different schedules, is that right?
Correct.
Were you working at that time?
Yes.
Where were you working?
TGI Fridays in Eau Claire restaurant.
So you tended to work, I'm guessing, nights and weekends?
Yes, correct.
All right, and probably long hours on those nights and weekends?
Correct.
Are you working now?
Correct.
Where are you working now?
Shanghai Bistro in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Okay. So I want to ask you some questions about March 22nd.
Okay.
You're in the house and you hear the door knock,
Yes.
and you go down and you answer the door.
I did not the first time.
Okay. At some point you answered the door.
Yes, I just walked down. I think it was in my boxers, and I took a peek out the door, and I saw Ezra there. So.
Okay. And when you saw Ezra there, did you open the door?
No, I don't believe I did.
Okay.
I think it was in my boxers. I just kind of peeked out the door. So.
When you say peeked out the door, did you peek out the
The
window?
window. There's a window to that. Also,
Okay. So when you chose to answer that door that second time, you didn't know who was there. You had to peek out the window to see. Is that right?
yes,
And when you came down to peek out the window to see, you observed Ezra McCandless, correct?
yes,
And at that point, you then hollered up to Alex in some manner?
yes.
And then Alex came down and spoke with her.
Yes.
So fair to say you never had face-to-face contact that wasn't separated by the door?
I believe I did
Okay, when was that?
when I opened the door.
So I'm confused. I just want to make sure.
Yes.
You look through the door that's closed, is that right?
Yes.
You see that it's Ezra? Yes?
Yes.
And at that point, you'd never seen her, met her before, agreed?
No, I don't believe so.
And so you called up to Alex,
Yes.
and I think you'd said before, Alex had never even mentioned Miss McCandless to you before, correct?
No.
You agree?
I agree.
So a person who you've never seen before, never met before, knocks on the door, you see her, and you immediately call to Alex.
No. I opened the door and I asked, and then she talked to me and told me. So
Okay, so that was my misunderstanding. So
That's
then,
okay.
so then you opened the door and you had a conversation with Ms. McCandless.
yes,
Brief one.
brief.
She essentially says, here to talk with Alex. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you holler up, Alex, someone's here to see you, or something along those lines.
Yes.
And then you kind of skedaddle around the corner into the bathroom to protect your privacy.
Yes.
And then she goes up the steps, goes into the bedroom with Alex.
Yes.
The door is closed.
Yes.
And you don't hear anything strange or unusual at all.
No.
Just seems like a normal conversation, so to speak, right?
Exactly.
And what you're saying is that previous to this time that you've just described, someone had been knocking at the door before.
Same person.
Okay. And the first time that this happened, are you saying you walked all the way down and looked through the door to make an observation of the person?
I heard the knock. I think there was almost 3 times actually. It seemed like urgent is what I feel what happened. You know,
Okay.
I believe I saw her twice, and I think I heard the knock, and I assumed it was her. So
Okay.
it was really early. So
So I appreciate your acknowledging you're making assumptions. I want to talk about the time that you said you saw her before you opened the door, okay?
10 or 11.
I want to talk to you about that
Okay.
time, not what the
Sorry.
time is. Do you understand?
Yes.
That time, what you're telling this jury is somebody is at your front door knocking urgently, correct?
Yes.
And you choose to not answer it.
Yes.
You just ignore it.
Nobody comes over unannounced.
You just ignored it. Agreed?
Yes.
You
Agreed.
didn't even say, Alex, you got somebody coming over.
I had no idea Alex had anyone coming over. So
But you did not communicate in any way to Alex, someone's knocking at the door.
no.
You didn't ask Alex, are you expecting anybody?
I don't think he cared if the door was not somebody was knocking on the door either.
My question is about what you did, not what he cared. Do you understand that, sir?
Yeah.
And so you didn't do anything when somebody was knocking at the door then, correct?
Correct.
You're upstairs lounging about in your boxers, correct?
Correct.
Laying on the couch,
Correct.
watching TV.
Yeah.
Were you doing something other than laying on the couch watching TV?
No.
Okay, so you're upstairs laying on the couch watching TV, and it sounds like you didn't want to get up off the couch. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
And so if you're upstairs lounging about on the couch and you don't want to get off the couch because you don't want to answer the door, you really wouldn't be able to see who's at the door, would you?
No.
Agreed?
Agree.
So other than the time that you opened the door, you don't know who was knocking at the door previously in the day. Agreed?
No, I don't.
You agree?
I agree.
Those were just assumptions that you were making, correct? Which is
one assumption. I don't make any more assumptions than I said. There was 3 incidents, and I went down there probably about 10 o'clock, and there was probably about 11:30 is the next time I went down there, and the same person was sitting there on the couch.
Oh. There was a person sitting on the couch is what you're telling the jury now?
Correct. I said that the first time when the prosecutor asked me.
So someone's inside your house sitting on the
Yes,
couch?
I'm not in the house. In the well, that seems to me it's a porch.
I've never
It's part
been
of the
there,
house.
sir.
Yeah.
Don't want to argue with you. I've
That's
just
okay.
never been there.
That to me is like you have to know somebody to jump on somebody in a porch in the house.
Okay. I'm not trying to jump. I'm just trying to gather what happened, sir.
I wouldn't, you know, what I mean, I'm just saying I wouldn't go to the second door. I'm just trying to explain the situation. There's a storm door. There's on a porch that you have to walk in. The physical door, the next door coming in, you have to go to the next door. So
Okay. So how many times that day did you go and physically answer the door and have a conversation with Ms. McCandless?
Once, but twice I saw her.
Okay, and so we've gone through the one time. This other time that you went to the door, you saw her, is what you're saying?
The first time or the second time? After.
But just so we get, there's 2 times where you said you saw her, correct?
Correct.
And the second time, the time that happened later in time, is when you invited her in, she went up to Alex's room, right?
Yes.
We've covered that, agreed?
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so I want to talk about the time before that, okay?
Okay.
Are we on the same page?
We're on the same page.
That time, did you speak with Ms. McCandless?
I did not.
So that time, you got up off the couch from watching TV and you went down to the door.
Correct.
And you're saying you looked through the door that time?
Yes.
And you saw that there was a human being there?
Yes.
You saw that it was Ms. McCandless?
Yes.
And you turned around and just walked back up the steps?
No, I did not. I went to the bathroom at that time.
Okay. And then after you went to the
I
bathroom?
looked, she had eye contact with me and I had eye contact with her. I didn't know who she was. I'm in my boxers. I went to the bathroom, so.
And then after you got out of the bathroom, you went back up to the couch?
Yes.
And you didn't go to your roommate Alex and say, there's a young lady down at the door?
No.
You just were like, I don't know who's there, I'm not answering the door?
I don't exactly remember, no.
Okay. Was Matt there that day?
No, it was not.
And the time that you did answer the door and you did speak with her, she appeared anxious, correct?
She looked like there's something going on, you know.
You said the word anxious, agree?
Anxious was one, yeah,
Yeah. You agreed that she
I
appeared
agree.
anxious.
I agree.
And then she went up into the bedroom with Alex, right?
Yes,
And the door got closed.
yes,
And then it was normal from that point on, as far as you knew, correct?
correct.
You weren't there when her ex-boyfriend Jason Mengel walked into your house uninvited, were you?
No, not at all.
You don't know if everything changed after Jason Mengel showed up,
I don't know what happened.
because you weren't there.
No, I was not.
Thank you.
Any redirect?
Hold on one second, Judge.
Okay. I'll give you a moment.
I have no other questions, Judge.
Okay, any redirect?
Very brief. David, can you tell us when you opened the door and spoke with the defendant, can you tell us whether or not she was looking around or was she looking straight at you? What was she doing?
She wasn't looking straight at me.
What was she doing?
She looked like she was getting up like she wanted to jump in the house, you know, like, I don't know, just
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I've
Urgent.
got.
Okay, any recross based on that redirect?
No, thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Steuding. You may step down.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Steuding released from his subpoena?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, then you're free to go, sir. Thank you. Have a good day. Okay, we're ready for the next witness?
Could you tell us your name, please, and spell your last name for the court reporter?
You're Chester Daniel Davidson, Davidson. I go by my second name, so I go by Dan.
Right. And I was just going to ask that. Do you generally go by Dan or Daniel?
Dan, yes.
Dan, all right. And Dan, are you currently employed?
I am.
How are you employed currently?
I'm a contract driver with Marathon Mail Service out of Rhinelander. Marathon Mail Service, Rhinelander.
And how were you employed in March of 2018?
I drove for the city of Eau Claire as a transit driver.
All right. And the bus driver, basically?
Correct.
All right. And how long had you done that?
I was there for a total of 3 years.
And were you scheduled to work on March 22nd of 2018?
Yes, I was.
And do you recall what time you were supposed to start work on that day?
I believe it was an early afternoon shift. My memory is correct. I think it was like 2:15, I think.
All right. And did you actually get your schedule and bring it up and provide law enforcement with that on your phone?
Yes, I did.
All right. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Showing you Mr. Davidson, what's been marked for identification as exhibit number 532. Can you tell me what that is?
This would be a copy of my schedule off of my phone.
All right.
Yep.
And that was your schedule for, I included your schedule for March 22nd?
Yep, that's correct.
All right. Your Honor, I'd move the admission of exhibit 532 and ask for permission to publish that.
Okay. Exhibit 532 will be received, and you may publish that to the
All
jury.
right, and if we can turn on the screen. So that shows that on Thursday, March 22nd, it says 1:15 to 2:15. What does that mean?
I would have started my shift at 1:15 that day and worked until 2:15.
I think down right below that, it says March 22nd, 2:15 to 7:27. Is that your actual shift?
Yeah, I believe that is correct.
And then 1:15 would be when is that when you would leave to get to work?
I'm sorry, I haven't seen this for a while. Extra comp paid. Okay, the DR/S is driver's room or shop time. So if I recall correctly, it's been a while since I worked with the transit schedule. I think that what I would have had there is I had 1 hour of comp time paid.
Okay. So you had an hour of comp time, so you didn't have to be in until 2:15.
That is correct.
All right. And so you started your shift at 2:15.
That is correct.
Thank you. We can switch that off now. If you started at 2:15, where were you living at that point in time?
About 5 miles south of Menominee.
All right. And if you started at 2:15, what time would you need to leave from your residence to get to work on time?
Generally 45 minutes from the time I left home. I have 30 minutes of travel time, and I would usually arrive 15 minutes before my schedule started.
So if you're starting at 2:15, you'd leave sometime around 1:30?
No later than that, correct?
All right. And what route would you take to get to work?
Sure. Heading toward Eau Claire, I would leave on 420th and 410th, 730th, 430th Avenue, and then County E into Eau Claire.
And at some point in time, you would go past the area of 7616, 14th Avenue, or 430th Avenue?
Yes, I would.
So, got here, now why don't we put it over here so that everybody can kind of see it. Exhibit number 282, you see there's kind of a brown mud road that goes up there.
Okay.
Do you recall that?
I do.
Did you recall going past that kind of mud road on your way to work that day?
Well, that's a little different perspective than I had going down the road, but I believe I did, yes.
And approximately how long after you leave your residence would you get to that location?
Real close to 7 minutes from my driveway.
All right. And do you recall, and again, so that we are clear on the location, do you recall a few days after March 22nd stopping and talking to officers?
That is correct.
And did you talk to them in the area where you had seen the observations we're about to talk about?
Yes, I did.
All right. And so you said that's about 7 minutes from your residence?
Correct.
So if you left your residence somewhere around 1:30, it'd be a little after 1:30 when you go by there?
Correct, yes.
1:35, 1:37, somewhere in there?
Correct, yes.
As you go past that area at that point in time, do you see anything that draws your attention?
Yes, I did. As a transit driver, I interact with other vehicles and drivers all day long. And so this was very unusual to me. And as I approached, there was a vehicle parked perpendicular to the road in my lane of traffic. And so it was just stopped there. And I thought that was very unusual.
All right, let's stop there a second. Where was it in relation, when we're looking again at Exhibit 282, where was that vehicle stopped perpendicular to the road? in relation to that mud road or that farm road?
Directly in front of it, so it was facing directly down that lane.
And do you have any specific, as part of your work for the Transit Authority, when you worked for Eau Claire Transit, did you get any training in making observations of other vehicles on the road?
Yes, we do. It was called Smith training, and one of the aspects of that training was to try to anticipate what other drivers are going to do. And as a part of that, we focus on trying to maintain eye contact with the other driver, just so that, for one thing, they are aware of our presence, and it gives us some kind of an indication of what their intentions are.
All right. And did you utilize that training and try to make eye contact with the operator or the driver of the vehicle that you saw perpendicular to the road?
Yes, I did.
What happened when you tried to do that?
There was absolutely no response, and I thought that was highly unusual. I'd never seen that before. I'm approaching at road speed, obviously slowing down as I come to this vehicle because it's in my lane of traffic, but there was absolutely no acknowledgement of my presence.
All right. And are you able to observe at least the gender of the individual that's driving that vehicle at that point?
Yes, it was female.
All right. And was there another individual in the vehicle?
There was a male passenger, yes.
What do you do as you approach that vehicle?
I'm trying to anticipate whether or not it's safe for me to pull out and go around behind it. I didn't know if this driver had intentions to go forward or to go backward. And obviously, if they intended to go backward, it would create a problem for me. So I slowed down and moved over to the left and was finally able to get around behind.
All right. And going back to the time of this incident, would it be fair to say your memory of the times and when you would have done this would have been better back in March of 2018?
I'm sure that would be correct, yes.
All right. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Judge objection, we approach sidebar.
All right.
Mr. Davidson, I'm showing you what has been marked for identification as Exhibit 533. Can you tell me what this is?
Yeah, this is a written statement that I left with investigators along the road.
All right. And you wrote this out at that point in time, correct?
That is correct.
And I want you to just take a look, and does it indicate on there what time you would have left?
Objection leading.
I'm going to overrule in this particular instance. I think.
Yeah, left home at 1:15.
And does it indicate what time you would have arrived at that area?
1:22.
All right, thank you.
And was that marked as an exhibit, incidentally?
Yeah, that's Exhibit 533. I do not have any other questions for Mr. Davidson.
All right, any cross?
Yes, please, thank you. Mr. Davidson, I want to ask you some questions about this, but I'm going to put it up so we can all see it.
All right, good enough.
How you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Maybe the best place to put it is back in here. Can you see Exhibit 282 from there, Mr. Davidson?
Yes, I can.
Okay. You're familiar with this area?
I am.
The top of this is north, correct?
That would make sense, yes.
And that, the direction over here by E7614, that's to the west.
Correct.
And as we go from left to right across the exhibit, it goes from west to east, correct?
Yes.
So if I'm on the east side of that exhibit orientated, is that right?
That would make sense, yes.
And down by where I'm at is where you run into County Road E, correct?
Exactly, yes.
So when you're driving that day, you're driving from the left side of that exhibit 282
Yep.
to the right side of the 282.
Correct.
You're driving from the west to the east.
I am.
And you're familiar with Mr. Sippel's residence?
I drive by it, but I'm not familiar with the name.
Oh, okay. And you mentioned it in your report, and maybe you just learned about it through this case. Is
Correct.
that right?
Yes.
When you spoke with the police, the first time you spoke with the police was on March 27th. Is that right?
I assume so.
And you saw them when they were there at the scene as you drove by, correct?
Yes.
And at that point, you'd probably already seen some stories on the news about something happening out in that area, correct?
That is correct.
You'd seen, I imagine, pictures of Ms. McCandless, correct?
That is a possibility.
And then since that time, you've certainly seen pictures of Ms. McCandless in the news,
I
correct?
have not, no.
Okay. But at some point, you saw pictures of Ms. McCandless?
Yes, I did.
All right. And so as you're driving from this direction to this direction, is that right?
That is correct.
Your vehicle, I was going to put it, this purple sticker here, you see that purple sticker?
I do.
And you see there's a D and a P on it?
And there is.
With an arrow forward?
Yep.
Can we agree that that appears the driver's side going forward and the passenger side? Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. I put this sticker just at some point, you're, again, driving along here in that direction, correct?
That is correct.
And that would be you, driver's side, you'd be on the left of that vehicle, correct?
That is correct.
And the blue sticker is the equivalent of the pink. It's with the passenger, the driver, and the arrows. Is that right?
That makes sense. Yep.
And this sticker, tell me if I get it wrong, is approximately this car is much bigger than the road.
Yes, it is.
But it's approximately pointing in this direction, correct?
That is correct, yes.
That it's orientated correctly.
That is correct.
And so the driver's side would again be on the left side, correct?
That is correct.
As you come from the west to the east, you're cresting a hill.
That is correct.
And then it's either downhill or flat during this 1,200-foot drive that you're making, correct?
Correct.
And the speed limit there is 55?
At most, yes.
Okay. And so you see a car, right?
Yes.
And you're a trained professional driver, right?
Correct.
It sounds like you have some training to try to make out what people are doing, correct?
That is correct.
And I would imagine the most important thing to pay attention to is the actual vehicle, right?
Correct.
Because the vehicle is what you're worried about, right?
Yeah, correct.
Right? And so as you're coming there, you're watching the vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
I am watching the driver because the driver is control of the vehicle.
Sure. You're on this side of the driver. As you approach, you're on the opposite side of the driver there, correct? So you're on the left.
The opposite
You'd have
side
to-
of the blue sticker, yes, I'm on the opposite side of the blue.
Yeah.
Yes,
So in able to see the driver, you need to be able to look through the entire car.
that is correct, yes.
And you're driving a truck?
Small pickup, yes.
What type of pickup truck?
A Toyota pickup, 1991 Toyota pickup.
And what's the model of the Toyota pickup?
Well, at that time, it was just pickup.
Okay. So fair to say though that the pickup, you're up above the car, higher than a typical
No.
car?
No.
You're not at all?
It would be similar to a Toyota Tacoma. It's just a small subcompact pickup, so it's the same height as a compact vehicle.
And I appreciate that. I wasn't clear in my question. The seat in that vehicle is higher than a seat in, let's say, a Chevy Impala, correct?
Well, maybe an inch or two, not much.
All right. So you're saying that the seat on a pickup truck is at the same level as a seat on a sedan?
On my pickup, yes.
Okay. And so as you're driving along there, you move around the vehicle, correct?
That is correct.
And you spoke with the police about this on March 27th, as we've heard you were asked questions about, correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
And when you spoke with the police on March 27th, you wanted to give them accurate information, right?
That is correct.
And when you spoke with them then, things were fresh in your mind, agreed?
Fresher than today, probably so, yes.
Yeah, certainly fresher than today, right? And I believe what you told them was, you told them there was a male and a female in the front seat, but you couldn't recall who was driving. Is that right?
There apparently is a misunderstanding because I knew who was driving.
Okay. So you disagree, you did not tell that to the police on March 27th, 2018?
If that is what I told him, I misunderstood the question.
Okay. And so you do remember speaking with Sergeant McRoberts, correct?
I don't remember names, but I spoke with several
You remember,
investigators,
you
yes.
remember speaking with Mr. McRoberts? Or you remember speaking with a law enforcement officer?
I do, yes.
And you remember him asking you questions?
I do, yes.
You remember him giving him answers?
I do.
And one of the answers that you said, you're saying it might have been accurate, but you agree that you said, I couldn't recall who was driving.
I do not recall saying that, no.
Okay.
And again, if that's what I said, it was a misunderstanding. I misunderstood the question.
So at this point, your memory, you remember now seeing the person who you saw on the news with their picture up there, right?
No, I vividly remember a female driving the vehicle and a male passenger. That image is clear in my mind.
And that image was something that you'd seen the person before on the news, right? Is that what you'd said?
That would have, I'm trying to think, because there was two occasions when I spoke with individuals there. And I'm not sure if I had seen a picture on the news on the first encounter I had with investigators. I could not say.
You told the police that you couldn't recall the color or make of the car, is that right?
No, I told him it was a light-colored vehicle.
Okay. That's your memory today, is that you told them that?
That is correct. A small sedan.
Or you did not, I just want to make clear, I'm not trying to attack. You saying you did not say to the police, I can't recall a color or make of the car?
I told him it was a light-colored vehicle, but I'm sure I told him I could not identify the make of the vehicle.
Okay. And are you, again, I just want to make sure I get the facts straight. Are you
Certainly.
saying that you did not tell them, I couldn't recall who was driving?
If I
Objection
told
asked
them,
and answered.
Sustained and asked and answered.
You made out a written statement as well about that? On that day on March 27th, when you were there speaking with the police,
I did
you made
make
out a
a-
written statement?
I made out a written statement, yes.
They gave you a pen,
Correct.
and they gave you a piece of paper, which has been
Correct.
marked as Exhibit 533, correct?
Correct.
It's very similar to this, correct?
Correct.
And they asked you to write down everything you could remember, is that right?
I don't recall if they asked me to write down everything I could remember. They just asked me to write down some of the details that we'd talked about.
Okay. And so you had time to do that.
That is correct.
You weren't in a rush on that day, agreed?
I was on my way home from work. I was not wanting to take longer than I had to.
Sure. But you weren't in an immediate rush. You didn't have an impending appointment or anything to get to other than just after a hard day's work, you, like the rest of us, wanted to get home.
I wanted to get home, yes.
But you'd also stop to pull over because you wanted to be helpful.
That is correct.
So you wanted to put down in your statement the things that you thought were important, correct?
Details I thought were important, yes.
Yes. And the details that you wrote when you had the pen in your hand on that day trying to put down what was important is, my recollection is that a female and male, maybe mid-20s, in the front seat with their focus down the driveway.
That is correct.
That's what you wrote, correct?
That is correct.
You never wrote on your plaintiff's exhibit number 533 in your written statement, you never wrote, I have a clear recollection of who was driving. Agreed?
I did not put that on paper, correct?
You did not write in your statement on March 27th that there was a female that was driving. Agreed?
Apparently I did not write that down.
Okay.
Correct.
Move for the admission of exhibit 533, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 533 will be received.
Those are the only questions I have, Judge.
Okay, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Davidson, do you still have Exhibit 533 there?
Yes, I do.
Could you read the first paragraph, what you wrote?
Certainly. Traveling to work on Thursday, March 22nd, I passed by on 430th Avenue and noticed a small sedan parked in the driveway pointing south. Most of the vehicle was in the eastbound lane. The vehicle was square with the road. My recollection is that a female and male, maybe mid-20s, in the front seat with their focus down the driveway. I never saw any movement of the vehicle or the occupants.
And anywhere in there do you say you couldn't recall who was driving?
I do not.
All right. And when you describe it as a female and male, is there a particular reason why you use that order for the individuals?
I would assume my
Objection,
focus when I was there was on the driver.
Hold on.
And
Objection.
that would be my assumption.
Objection.
She was first.
Whoa. Right, so there's an objection, we just have to have it
Oh,
stopped.
I'm sorry.
Appreciate, but, okay, what is the objection?
speculation. He said he was assuming things, and obviously is no foundation then to make an
Okay,
assumption.
well, I'll sustain on that.
Do you know, let's put it this way, do you know, don't assume, don't guess, but do you know why you would have put it in that order, female and male versus male and female?
My focus was on the driver. That was the individual I was concerned about because I was trying to anticipate what she was planning to do is with the movement of the vehicle.
And is that why you would have put female first?
That would be reasonable, yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Okay, recross.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Nothing further.
Okay, Mr. Nelson?
So again, when you said that, fair to say that that's an assumption, correct?
Your words, not mine.
And I appreciate that, but I'm asking for your words. You had said it would be reasonable. Previously, you said assumption, then you said it would be reasonable, which leads me to think you don't know actually why you wrote it down that way. Is that fair? As you sit here today, you don't know.
I know that the female was a driver.
I appreciate that. I'm not asking about that, sir. I'm asking about your written statement that Mr. DeFore asked you about.
All right.
As you sit here today, you don't know why you wrote those two words in the order that you did. Agreed?
It would not make sense for me to have done it otherwise, but
I appreciate, again, you're using deduction and induction and logic. My question is about your knowledge. You would agree, as you sit here today, you don't know why you did it that way.
I guess I can't answer that.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Davidson. You can step down. Is Mr. Davidson released from his subpoena?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're free to go, sir, and release from your subpoena. Have a good day.